and welcome to the Canon Fodder podcast, the podcast where we discuss all things Canon and movie related. You're joined by me, Fodder Phil, and as always, my co-host, Fodder Tom. Tom, go ahead and introduce yourself, pal.
My name is Fodder Tom.
So this week we're talking about the 1989 movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which is the third installment in the franchise. Would you like to go through the synopsis, Tom? I think we've all agreed that the best way to talk about this in any synopsis of any movie is to go on IMDb, or as I like to call it, IMDb, because I am a 10-year-old child in my head. Would you like to read it out, or would you like me to go through it?
No, I've got it on screen. So the reason we're doing this is because we realised in the Temple of Doom we did not mention at all what the plot of the film was, which again goes from my point that it was a terrible fucking movie. But Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. In 1938, after his father goes missing while pursuing the Holy Grail, Indiana Jones finds himself up against the Nazis again to stop them from obtaining its powers.
Wow, beautifully done.
Thanks, man.
So, before we go into that though, Tom, we do like to start each episode with a little bit of a catch-up, and we are best friends after all, as we've talked about before. We're not best friends, we're close friends, which for some reason Tom thinks is a higher ranking than best friend, but we'll not go into that. If you want to hear that little tidbit, you can go back to episode 1. But we do like to catch up, and we do like to kind of make this a bit more of a social thing, and have a bit of crack, bit of banter, and we like to call that What's Canon On. So I'll start. So I've been spending a lot of time lately trying to get more to grips with TikTok, and really showing my age here, but using some editing skills and going through. Tom is the admin of this operation, and as we've established before, I am the talent. So Tom is really focusing on all of the editing, really doing a bang-up job, I must say. And I'm sure he'll edit that bit out to make me sound worse. But I've been looking at the logo design, things like that. We've really been trying to bounce off each other and make this the full package, because probably independently we don't function very well in society on our own. But I've been looking at the TikTok, I've been trying to edit it together, and I've got to be honest, I've been really pushing my phone to the absolute limit of its capabilities at the minute. So I've had this one app that I've been going through, because I've realised that there's some limits on TikTok of what I've wanted to do. TikTok has not had the abilities that I needed to have. It can't fulfill my vision yet, Tom. Maybe in the future. But I've been going on different apps, doing the editing I need, exporting it, importing it, and I haven't yet worked out how to clip the clips to make them a bit shorter. Obviously, I have for the video, but in terms of importing them in, it's like a 2-hour clip that I've just edited to be 10 seconds long. And then I've been like, all right, I need to add another little bit at the end here. And the only way I can work out how to do that on my poxy little phone is to just copy and paste that clip again. So I've technically got 2-hour clips side by side that are only 10 seconds long. And my phone has just been pitching a fit. It is not knowing what to do. And it's got to the point with my phone where it was like crashing every few minutes on me on this app. It was trying its best. But then I was like, right, I need to edit this bit, and I'll quickly edit it, and then I would see my phone lagging and catching up with me, and then at that point I'd be like bashing the save button, like save, and then it would go video saved, and then I shit you not, it would be like and it would crash every single time. So yeah, it's been funny, and it's just made me think a little bit about reminiscing about my first ever phone, and I remember doing a little bit of silly daft editing on that phone. I think I had a few videos in the snow as a kid in school, jumping into like big piles of snow and running around with a cone on my head, or my mate was running around with a cone on his head that we found that we thought was the most hilarious thing ever, that's never ever been done before. I'm sure it hasn't. And I remember editing these videos like on my Motorola phone, my blue flip phone back in the day.
Nice.
Yeah, I think probably a few people had this one. I remember a few people having it. And I tell you what phone I really wanted, the Pebble. Do you remember the Pebble? The flip phone, the Pebble.
I do remember the Pebble, yeah.
It looks
sick.
I
remember that. I didn't have that, but I do remember it.
Even the Motorola Razr back in the day, that looks so cool, man. That was like looked like the future. I really wanted that phone too. But no, I had some poxy little, I'm sure it was 50 quid off of Argos, that I had to buy myself. You remember you could Bluetooth songs to each other? Fuck me, I remember
Bluetooth. I was going to say infrared.
I was
Come back and
take
a step back.
Other,
Yeah. I remember at the end of break, someone would be sending you a song and they'd be like, I'm going to go to class.
I'm like,
No,
yeah,
I'm
okay,
going to
it's
come
full,
with you.
yeah.
Like,
I remember his little side quest for you. I remember Infrared, and this song is mint, by the way. You can take this to the bank, which was Orson, No Tomorrow. What a banger of a song!
what a
Absolute
banger. What a
worldy banger,
banger.
that song. But that,
I couldn't tell you the lyrics,
I
but
think I could.
every time it comes on, I try my hardest when it comes on. I always get it wrong, but I'm like,
But I remember his little side quest. I remember after a PE, exactly like you said, my mate was like, "Oh, I've got that song," and I was like, "Oh, I'm in Infrared to us," and he gave us his phone, and I was doing it right, and literally my phone was like on 2% battery, and it was counting down, and I could see the bar going up, and I could see, and it was like, boop, 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 and I shit you not, he was like, "Oh, can I have my phone?" I was like, "Oh, just give me a minute, just give me a minute." And my phone, honest to God, died at 99% of the transfer. And out of absolute embarrassment, I was just like, "Oh, yeah, it worked. Thank you very much." And he was like, "Oh, you're going to listen to it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll listen to it on my way home." And I just had to sing it to myself like a child. Like, oh, I was a child. So what's your canon on?
So I've had a bit of a rant this week. Coming back to technology, actually, it fits in quite nicely. So I introduced you to an app which was called the Amazon Shopper Panel. You remember this app?
Good app.
Yep. It was a good.
It was
a
an
good
invitation
app.
only app.
Invitation only, yeah. So for those who don't know what this app is, there was invitation from Amazon, I think through their preview scheme. Jeff Bezos, massive fan of the podcast, that's how I got in.
That's how we got in. Yeah.
And what it asks for is, what it used to ask for was 10 receipts, right? Any 10 receipts. Like, it didn't have to be your fucking receipts. It could be anybody's receipts from the past month. Take a photo of it, put it on, tell Amazon what you're buying so they can market research you. They'll give you $5 at the end of the month. And I was like, oh, pretty cush deal that. It's not bad. Then to top it off, they were like, look, right? Give us your phone, let's put a VPN on it, and we'll give you an extra £2.50. I'm like, I'm earning about like £7.50 a month off Amazon for doing fuck all but buying shit that I normally buy at McDonald's. Like, I buy 10 McDonald's a month easily. And then on top of that, they were like, we'll send you some surveys, here's 50 pence for a survey. I was earning up to £10 a month, like, on Amazon. Like, and it was just Amazon gift cards. Like, it wasn't like I was getting actual £10 money. Jeff isn't that rich. Yeah, it was account balance. So, like, a couple of months would go by, and I looked at my phone today, right, and I'd earned in the past, I think, 18 months, £210 on Amazon. Couldn't tell you where that £210 gone, but it is gone. It's spent. So I got a message last month, and they said, "Oh, we're going to update a few things, tweak a few things." I was like, "Oh yeah, we're gone. They're going to want 20 receipts, whatever." Nah. What they've done is they've took away the 10 receipts for £5, and they've said, for every receipt you give, we'll give you 10 pence. And I was like, okay, let's do some maths on that. So 10 receipts is £1, 50 receipts is £5, and then the cap at £5. If they'd said, we'll give you 10 pence per receipt, no limit, I'd have been like, right, fine. I've just got to like stop, like stand outside of us and be like, did you get a receipt?
You start hanging around the tills at Aldi.
Yeah, start doing that, people. But no, they've capped it at £5. So now I've got to work extra hard. And I'm like, why am I being punished for giving you my market research? Because you've invited too many people to this app now, which is clearly the issue. So realistically, Phil, I need you to get off the app. I need everyone else to uninstall this app. So I have to only upload 5 receipts. I'm not going back to 10. Like, they've burnt their bridge here. I'm pissed off with Amazon. Like, why have they done this to us? Why have they took us away from this? They're not the first people to do it, Microsoft did it as well because they had a similar thing where it was like, oh, look, right, do 20 searches a day on Bing. Nobody uses Bing, so we're begging you. Do 20 searches and we'll give you like a £5 gift voucher for Xbox. And I was like, look, right, I'll help you out. I don't mind.
What a hero.
Now they're like, oh, you have to do it. What a hero. I know, I was. I'm helping these companies. I'm giving my data. My data is worth millions on the black market.
Yeah. What were you searching for on Bing, though? Like, why is Bing so shit? Why does nobody use Bing?
Alright, I'll tell you when I was searching on Bing. I think it was 30 searches. I did search number 1, A. Search number 2, B. Search number 3.
It's valuable
3,
data
C.
you're sharing with Bing.
When I got to 25 letters in the alphabet, I had to do another 5. Search number 26, 1. Search number 27, 2. So So I was helping them out. I was giving them the data they wanted for like what searches come up when you put A in the alphabet. I couldn't tell you. I didn't read the searches. I was just quickly getting the next search. So, and they took their money scheme as well. They took away that benefit. They were like, oh, you've got to do like 3 searches every hour. You can't do one every like 2 seconds. And I'm like, well, you have took the fun out of it. Like, you have just made it like work. And I don't want to work for the money. I'd rather just have a little bot that sits there, aka my son, just type A, type B, type C. So yeah, like these companies, like greedy, pure greed. They've got enough money to give me my £10 a month. And now they've decided no. No, so that's my what's Canon On. I did have 2 other things to talk about, but I am going to save these as a little tease. One is Wicked related, and one is Gladiator 2 related. But I'm going to write a little note in my book, and I'll save that for next time. Should we talk about this fucking film?
What film? So we're going to talk about, this week we're going to talk about Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Tom, do you have any interesting facts and tidbits about this movie to get us started?
Yeah. So I'll give you sort of the round robin that I gave for the last couple of films. So as you mentioned at the start, this film's from 1989. It is by Steven Spielberg. The length, I think it's the longest one so far, of 2 hours and 6 minutes.
Yeah. I noticed that.
So it's over the 2 hour mark, which the other 2 didn't reach that far. Music again is by John Williams, and it has a couple of stars in this one. I would say, a couple of returning characters, some new characters. Oscars. So, do you know the Oscars for this one?
I believe from my quick IMDb look up a little bit earlier, it was 3 nominations and 1 win for best editing.
Yeah. So. It's a joint, like, so do you remember how Temple of Doom had, I think it had best effects and then the other one had best effects editing. This one's more like, I think the most slightly tweaked the award because it's best effects / sound effects editing.
Yeah.
So it was almost like a blended version of it.
Let's talk about the opening a little bit. Throughout this podcast, Tom, I think what we're gonna see from me anyway, or hear from me, is I'm gonna talk about what I really liked about a segment of the movie, and then I'm gonna quickly come in and probably say the bits I didn't really like about it. But there's a lot to talk about with the opening, which for the most part I thought was pretty damn nice, pretty good opening. Straight away, which we've talked about in each episode of the podcast so far, is we get the graphic match of the Paramount logo, which I'm loving this. I'm absolutely loving it. Seeing how they integrate the Paramount logo into the opening scene of the movie, and we're obviously the 3rd movie in now. I did feel like the opening, I don't know what your thoughts were, but it felt a lot more somber than all of the other movies, and maybe so because we don't have a musical number. We also don't have, a lot of drama in the jungle. It's just a bunch of kids riding on horses in the desert. And I also picked up on, even though it had the title of the movie, the font wasn't the Indiana Jones font that we can think of.
Pick up on that.
And I don't know why that was, but that just added to that somber feeling to me. What were your thoughts?
So I thought the the logo matches the first film because Raiders didn't have the Indiana Jones logo. It just was called the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it was like standard like font, Comic Sans almost. So I think this was them cementing to their audience in the first five seconds. We've gone back to basics. We've gone back to formula. We're not like straying the path like we did in Temple of Doom. I think this is very much like member berry planting.
That's fair enough. That's a good point. But obviously the first movie, as we've established, wasn't called Indiana Jones.
No, it wasn't. So it's a blend of the both. But I think they kind of they jumped into bed of this being a franchise and were like, can't back out. But what we can do is we can make it feel a bit easier putting the dildo up their ass.
Yeah, the Indiana dildo. So, I thought that there was a lot of, which I liked. This isn't the critique in a bad way, but it played with the audience a lot and us as the viewer.
100%. Yeah. Which back to basics, back to that sort of setting the expectation. You think the guy in the tomb is Indy, and I thought that was quite. Yeah, it was a fake out, and I thought that was quite well done because. Like I said, I've seen these films like when I was a kid, and generally watching it again, I was thinking, is that Harrison Ford? And I was like squinting at the TV thinking, I don't think so.
Straight away ties in with the first movie in the franchise, which is you don't really see his face for the first few minutes. You just see his figure, you see his hat down, covering his face. Yeah, and it's fun. It's not like, you know, they're not taking the piss out of the audience. It's having that little bit of fun with them, and sort of doing the reveal. And it's full of reveals. I thought right in this first 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Well, we've got the snake. Obviously, we've talked about this before. Why is he scared of snakes? And I can't believe that I forgot about it, because as soon as this movie started, I was like, oh shit! I've just remembered why he's scared of snakes, and we got that scene, and it was quite satisfying as well.
So, is that it? I can't remember, because I put here, surely he's already afraid of snakes. Like, who's not afraid of snakes? Like, was that scene, like, was that him generating a fear of snakes, or was he not already scared of them at that point? I couldn't read that.
Nah, you've missed a pivotal point in that
Did I?
opening, like, because
Okay.
because when you get the fake indie scene, and he's with his portly best friend, his portly best friend is shit scared of a snake, and young Indy just picks it up and just throws it away, and he's like, calm the fuck down. We see the first instance of the whip, which does
The-
tie in with what you're probably going to boot off about in a moment or two about the scar element.
Wasn't needed.
It wasn't needed. You're right.
Because, like,
Unnecessary.
that's Harrison Ford's real scar from a car crash. It wasn't needed to tie that in. I didn't need to, like, feel like, oh, how do you get that scar? Like, I
Yeah, but
understand
didn't he
people on
get the
purpose.
scar? But he got the scar years before any of these movies. But there's a reason why you do something like this, which is to kind of explain away why there's a huge chain, and not and let the audience still be invested in the story without breaking it.
Yeah.
So the best example I can think of, and I'm gonna have to drop Star Wars in it again, is Luke getting attacked on Hoth and getting tied up. And the whole point of that was that Mark Hamill was in that fucking motorcycle crash and had to have his full face built again, so he looks completely different from the first movie to the second movie, and that's why they did it. They had to put that in there as a bit of an exposition to be like, look, Renard doesn't look like Mark Hamill anymore, but it is. But the reason why is because he got attacked by a fucking wampa in the ice, and that's
Yeah.
the reason why.
So going back to your sort of somber point, I had on this one that the music's very whimsical. I found it quite Goonie-esque, and like this for me was like peak family slash adult investment of like, look at this kid having a little adventure on his own and stuff, and this is like for the older audience, this is the guy you know who's going to become Harrison Ford. Like, I thought it was like ticking all the boxes for every type of audience, and I thought honestly this opening for me was like, I wouldn't say it was better than Raiders, because Raiders had the boulder, and I think Raiders has got like really good practical effects. But I think this is a really strong opening. I think it's a lot stronger than the second film.
It's very different from the second film. The
Yeah,
second
yeah, it is.
film, we talked about the parody element, and this goes back to roots. You know, as you said, it's an action movie now with Harrison Ford in it, or a fake Harrison Ford, and then it turns into the real Harrison Ford, and we'll get those little play bits. But yeah,
So, start the film, as you mentioned, we see young Indy watching over these brutes stealing a cross.
yeah.
And what's the line? So, when his little fat friend says something to him, what's Indy's retort? May I ask? Do you remember?
No, but as soon as you say it, I'm gonna
He
kick myself.
says that belongs in a museum.
Oh,
So,
the good old. What is the character of
what
Indiana
is
Jones?
the
Because he can't
character
make the
of Indiana
title.
Jones exactly? This straight away got my heckles up, because I was like, hold on, fucking age 12 or whatever he is at this point, he's like, oh, that belongs in a museum, everything's precious and we should really like care about stuff. Then Temple of Doom, it's like, pff, I don't give a shit, I just want to sell it. Raiders we're back to being in a
Yeah.
museum. Like, this guy, like, I don't think character development was anyone's strong suit who made these films.
There was loads of good things about this opening, but now we're talking about the things that I didn't like. And now I've wrote down here that we're introduced to about 3 or 4 characters that literally go fucking nowhere. We've got his portly friend. We've got
Portly.
the portly friend. We've got the fake indie, or the imposter indie, or whatever you want to say, or the indie inspo, because he gives him the hat and it's sort of basically homaging him to his own hero. And we've also got this villain guy who comes back in the scene in a minute or two, but that's it. That's it. That's their whole. There's no arc there. There's no follow up. Like, I don't know what happens to this portly kid. I don't know what happened to that Indiana Jones fake guy. And I don't even know who this fake villain is. Apart from the fact he comes back 10 minutes later and drowns. So I'm like, is that wasted? I was kind of half expecting these characters to be coming back later in the movie, and they just don't. Like, there's no resurgence of the portly fellow. There's no resurgence of fake Indy. And the only character who does come back dies straight away. So I didn't like that. I felt like we were all invested in getting the origin of Indy, which, you know, it is the Indiana Jones show at the end of the day. But we're getting all that exposition of all these characters kind of for nothing, just for the sake of it, essentially. A little bit like the whip and the scar.
Yeah, but is that not going back to your point about these being parody films and this is the first skit?
But we're saying this one isn't a parody. You can't agree with me in one breath and then disagree with me in the next, Tom. Make up your mind.
I found this more of a parody movie than the last one.
You are absolutely on crack.
There is a specific character in this that is fucking ridiculous. Like, they are literally there for comedic effect and nothing else. They bring nothing else to it. And they ruin this character because they're in the first one. And I was like, what the fuck are we doing here? What is going on? I'll get into that in a bit. So, just kind of tying up this first couple of bits in the film. Things I didn't like. So, languages. He speaks Greek.
Yep. No,
Does no Egyptian.
You're a big hater of Indiana Jones not speaking
Fucking,
other languages.
I can't. Even the Mummy, right, had Brendan Fraser in it, who was a piss take of Indiana Jones. He could read Egyptian, like, fucking. Well, his wife could, I think. His wife could. She was the nerd. He was like there for the bit of thing. But even still, like, Egyptian's a bread and butter language for these people. Like, these people. That's right. I've gone there, and he can't speak. He can speak Greek. Like, I just can't get it out of my head.
You've got a very clear stance on the minimum standard for an archaeologist. I think an Egyptian is definitely on that list for you.
If you know what it is, if an Egyptian could comes to me and he can't speak archaeologist, what we're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I put like the same beats as Raiders for that opening. I felt that it hit the same beats like play for play. I remember that we go back to the school or the university.
Yep.
And that's pretty much the same as the first film, other than you see him in his little shitty office.
Yeah, I've wrote the same thing. I've wrote it's basically a graphic match of the first movie. You know, same angle through the door. He's standing in the same position. And yeah, it's giving you that familiarity, and like you're straight back into a typical Indiana Jones movie now.
With top men, I might
Yes,
say.
top men.
So Marcus Brody comes and gets him again,
Yep.
and that's all the same. So yeah, you know what's mad? And I did write this down. I can't see it on this page, so it must be like further in. This would have been slated if it came out now, because everyone is sick of that shit. Everyone's sick of like things just doing a play-by-play of what we've seen before. Like, people want like are screaming for new types of films and new ways of shooting films, and you know, like, all these films are coming out, and it's like, oh, do you remember this? Do you remember that? This film does it and gets away with it because it came out like first.
Yeah, but it's maybe it's interesting. Maybe the theme of the episode is going to be sort of redemption, because he found the formula in the first movie, and I don't know how much shit the Temple of Doom got. I know it got a lot of shit in India, as we've established, but I don't think it was a massive flop by any stretch. But maybe it just went totally too far down the parody route, too far down the comical route compared to what he wanted Indiana Jones to be. And then that just ties us straight back in of like, oh, look, he's still in that classroom. He's still got his hat. He's still got his suit. And then bringing you back in and giving you that, because the second one was also a prequel as well, which we've established we didn't need to be. But we're back in the familiar. We're back in what we're expecting. And just rinse and repeat, but with a sort of sidestep as well, because we're going from the Ark of the Covenant to the Holy Grail, which is sort of in that same ballpark of Christianity as well.
Yeah, we stay in the same religion. We don't go off brand. It's all in brand. So we go to some guy's house.
Yeah.
I don't know his name.
It's not important, is it, really? It's not important.
Walter Donovan. I think that's his name.
Sounds
He's
alright.
he's like sixth on the IMDb list, so I assume it's him. So we go to his house. We're 19 minutes into this movie, and we already know what we're looking for. Like,
Yep.
we're told, like, we're looking for the Holy Grail, like, fucking get on this ride because it's about to kick off. Did you remember this guy was evil?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He gives you them vibes. Do you know I give you them vibes?
He did. So again, like, I couldn't remember this film. I remembered it as it was happening. I was like, Sean Connery's going to appear soon. He doesn't fucking turn up for ages. He's not in it for a while. So this guy's here, and I'm like, I think he's evil. And it was very much like pantomime, where I was like, oh, is he not? But, and this fact on IMDb, I logged in, I created an account and voted this fucking thing down. Because when his wife comes in and says, oh, you've got guests out here, the piano in the background, did you catch what the piano's playing?
No.
It's playing the Imperial March theme, and I've fucking played it like 3 times singing, does it? And it's very, very faint, like, honestly, like, I had to really listen. And I was like, I guess, like, because you've told us, but am I just putting that together in my own brain? So I fucking logged in IMDb. I gave that person a thumbs down. Like, this is bullshit. Like, that's a very much, you have to know about it, or you don't. You'll never catch it.
Wait. You gave it a thumbs down. I thought you were saying that you went, fuck me, that is a lot of effort for a lot of pay. Or a little pay.
This person made me listen to this fucking bit 3 times, right? So I've had to do the heavy lifting, and he's fucked me off, or she, or them, or they, or whatever. But either way, like, fucking no, like, it's not the Imperial March. I think now I've been Mandela affected to believe that it is because I've read that comment. Fake news.
I didn't come on that, and I feel like as a massive little Star Wars nerd I am, I
mean,
probably would have.
Go back and listen to it. It's 90 minutes into the film. I've just told you. So go back and give it a listen. But honestly, I can't hear it. But don't listen on YouTube because people have enhanced it on YouTube. I don't trust the sources. Like, so, alright. So it's a little nod to tell you he's evil if you didn't already know and you're a Star Wars fan.
I can't wait to go on IMDb in a few weeks and see how many either
positive
or negative
downvotes he's got because of me.
Yeah. Well,
so
at least 12 subscribers are going to be downvoting this. And
yeah,
12 subscribers we have.
So then we're back to treasure hunting, and for me, like, we're back in the game. We're back to doing what we know. Like, for me, the best part of these films is the treasure hunting. It's the exploring. It's the tombs. We've already established in both films. Like, the tomb bits are solid. Like, anything with practical effects or anything with a bit of like aesthetic is what makes these films great.
Yeah. And again, going back to the graphic match element, we get that plane scene again with the red lines and flying between continents, and I think you've got a brand there. From the opening with the graphic match to the practical effects. We want to see Indiana Jones run away from the giant boulder. We want to see him trying to avoid spikes coming out the floor and stuff. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it does give you that bit of familiarity. But I think the overall point we've got to kind of think about when we talk about this is that this movie, in that sense, doesn't work as its own movie, because everything you're liking about this movie
100%.
is just a homage to the first and the bits that you do like of the second movie. It doesn't work as its own movie. You're not going to get enjoyment out of this movie unless you've seen the other two, or is not as much enjoyment anyway.
Cool. So, do you want to talk about Venice?
Yeah, let's go for it. We'll very quickly get into the whole where, like, Indiana Jones is keeping things secret as well, which I quite liked. He's not just playing all his cards out straight away, which I think he was doing a little bit more in the other movies. Maybe he's got his guard up a little bit, but he's like, oh, let's keep this private, keep this between me and you. And we're in the library quite quickly when we're looking for the first clues. But one thing I want to ask about is, so there's a couple of, we'll go into this later on, but there's a couple of bits in this movie that are like, like Da Vinci Code-esque, or prior to that, because obviously, where it's like, oh, this is this clue, and this means this, and that directs us here. But to me, the fucking clues that they're finding aren't the most amazing clues. It's the kind of level that I would expect to see on CBBC.
Yep.
No real, no real amazing, mystery solved. And how Henry Jones can dedicate his whole life to it and not have found some of these clues a little bit sooner is a bit unnerving to me. Looking back on it, because like some of them are like, oh, it's the stained glass has a number 3 on it. That's a clue, and it feels like when you're in maybe playing Batman Arkham Asylum and you put your Batman mode on and you can just see all the clues in front of you. It just
All the
feels like
jizz prints leading up to where
yeah,
you go.
like everything is far too easy for this. The one thing I did really like before you get into that, which I've got to say, is that stamping of the hammer, the stamping of the
Fucking hell, we're on point, right?
What a great little scene that is.
We are on point because the bit you've just mentioned about the clues, I was watching it with my partner. She'd never seen the film before, right? And I'm telling you now, she thought it was one of the best films she's ever seen. So I was like, fucking hell, like, this is a winner, this. But I also turned around and went, I remember as a kid thinking this film was really smart and like thinking, fuck, like those clues are like so hard to find. And then I thought the same thing as you when I watched it again, thinking, who the fuck's not found this? Like, I was in Venice earlier this year. I saw the fucking tour guides, right? There's no way someone didn't pick up on all this shit. Like, absolute bollocks.
But where's your line though? Because obviously we've got, yes, it's a PG, so we'll have to be in that ballpark. But it doesn't have to. Indiana Jones doesn't have to be a fucking idiot for it to be a PG.
No, he doesn't.
He's still being intelligent. He's speaking Greek. He's rescuing. He's demonstrating his knowledge. Like for example, that scene a moment or two earlier when he's in that office and he's dipping his fingers in the wine and deciphering the tablet. No kid cares about that scene.
Nah.
No kid gives a shit about that.
Nah.
So like the movie's a bit all over the place in that sense.
No, I guess you're 100% right. And like, you've not mentioned the woman, Elsa.
Wow, what a woman!
What a woman.
What a woman!
So again, couldn't remember if she was good or bad. Like, I was like, I think she might be bad. I can't remember.
She's a nutty.
So what I liked about her instantly is she's smart. She's not thick like the past two have been. Like, she is a woman I can get on board with. She's good looking. She's not thick. She's a femme fatale. I fucking love a femme fatale. Like, I'm all about that.
She's a surprise character as well because you hear Dr. Schneider, I believe her name is, and you don't expect it to be a woman in that sort of mini reveal, which again, really good, playing with the audience, but like really good character. Really, really, but the thing is with Dr. Jones is he tries to sexualize her straight away as well, which I thought was brilliant.
And she still becomes a damsel around him. Like, he still has to lift her up, like, past the rats and stuff. Like, it's not that she's a strong woman. She's just a good character, but the direction was, look, you can't be better than Indy. You have to be under him at all costs.
Yeah.
So the X on the floor as well. Yeah. That was a nod back, which we haven't mentioned, to the university scene, which I thought was like, again, it was almost parody-esque that the X was on the floor and it was like comically big. It was huge.
It was, and I brought a similar note as well. The saving grace for that, which means it's not parody, right? Is if you watch it again, when he's up, because I thought, like, why the fuck did he go up those 200 stairs to see that? I could have seen that X because it's fucking huge.
Yeah.
You can see that X from space, my guy. But anyway, he goes up the stairs and he's like, oh, and then they're both like, oh my god, you're right. But when it cuts back later on and he's back down on the ground and he smacks the ground with a hammer to reveal a kind of passageway, the angle of the lighting means that you can't really see the X. As I don't know if you picked up on that, but you can't really see the X.
No.
Yeah. When he's up on the top of the stairs, fuck me, it's the most obvious X in the world. But when you're back down at ground level, maybe it's like it's supposed to be like the tiling or whatever it may be. But you can still just about see the X, but it isn't nowhere near as obvious as it is when you're up the top.
As you would think it is. So we get in the tomb. You know what it is? I didn't even write many notes for this because I started to get sucked into this bit. I've just put tombs are class. Like, tombs are mint.
The tomb scene's great. I mean, is it a tomb? It's more of a catacomb, crypt. Yeah, exactly. The only thing that I really, again, because it's a kids movie, but Indiana Jones. Why does Indiana Jones have to be thick as fuck? Because if you're in a catacomb or a crypt, and first thing you notice is it's absolutely flooded with petrol, you're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to light a torch in this fucking catacomb and carry it around with me. There is no possible bad thing to happen in that scenario.
So they mentioned that his dad hates rats. So like I guess it's like a trope for an Indiana Jones character to hate some kind of animal. It's like, I guess, considered like scary because people are scared of rats. Like, why is not spiders? Like, spiders makes more sense for a crypt.
Not a flood crypt.
And then obviously we got the tomb, which had the guy in it with the shield. So these bad guys, they light the tomb on the crypt on fire, and then
Yeah.
Indy fucking gives chase. Yeah, we get a boat chase.
One thing I want to ask though before we get in the boat chase is, how did they know Indiana Jones escaped? So they threw the lighter in. From their perspective, big explosion, lots of fire.
But didn't the same come out the fucking hatch at the end? Didn't he come out the?
Why were they? Yeah, but they were underground, looking in the crypt.
They left. They
haven't
left. They didn't have the exit, so they came out the church. You know, clapping their hands, going, "Job well done, boys!" And then someone just went,
they came out the church running like they knew.
"Ah."
They came out the church running like, where is he? As if like, you know, maybe he's burnt to a fucking crisp because you just threw your favourite lighter in that crypt, pal. Have you checked?
Or maybe he forgot to, like, you know, put his parking ticket on for his boat. He's like,
oh yeah,
fuck,
that's what it was.
Like, better move the boat, boys. We're about to
left the oven on.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're
Anyway,
right,
you're right. We'll go to the boat scene, which I quite enjoyed actually.
I've put Star Wars sounds down. I think there was like an engine sound that sounded very Star Warsy.
Yeah.
I think it was when the boat was dying. It was like the kind of sound.
You know what it is? Bravo. That
wasn't bad, is it?
That was pretty good. Yeah.
George, I'm about if you need us.
It's working.
It's working. Yeah.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier about them teasing like expectations. The guy did not get splattered. Like, I was fucking ready for this guy to get propelled to death. Yeah, so I've not really wrote much else about Venice.
No.
Before we get into the sex scene, I don't know if you had any other points to raise.
No, I was ready to go on to other things. So what do you want to talk about with the sex scene?
It's very rapey. It's very rapey. Like, he forces himself upon her as if to say, like, I'll decide if you're good. I'm gonna shag you and double terminate. Like, it was like, and I've just put, like, it's just how things were done by Indiana Jones's standard. Like, is it going back to that men being men and kind of, like, sweeping women off their feet and it being, like...
I think we'll have to talk about this now because we're on the subject of, you know, of the rapey sex scene. But she also... Well, it hints, or it tells you that it did happen. She also shags the senior Dr. Jones. And I don't know how I feel about that.
It's double dipping, isn't it? It's
double dipping. Mm-hmm.
And like, kudos to her, you know what I mean? Like, she was doing her job and she was fucking doing it well. But...
She was doing some jobs.
She was...
But here's a point for you, though. But, like, and I think this will just tie us something nicely into as we move on. Maybe the reason why you haven't wrote a lot of notes about Venice is because from this point on in the movie, it seems to jump between about 15 different countries in the next 10, 15, 20 minutes. I lose track of where I'm at. I'm like, we're in Venice, we're in America, we're in Cairo, we're in Germany. At one point, he's pretending to be a Scottish lord. And then we're back in Germany again, and then we're going to fucking the Holy Land, and I'm like, where are we right now? Like, this movie's all of this is happening, and this was what in the 30s. Fuck me, what time frame is this movie set over? Because that is a long period of time. They're not dipping on private jets between Venice and Cairo, are they?
So as you've mentioned, we jump from Venice to Salzburg. It's an evil palace, like fucking standard Nazis in an evil castle.
Yeah.
Indy gets his outfit back. He dresses up. It's a bit of a throwback. He does a terrible Scottish accent.
It does. But I've wrote next to my line.
Parody. I've wrote parody.
Yeah.
I've wrote that as well. Yeah. Nazis are back. So we see the Nazis. We are again comfortable territory. So, like you say, it's taking you to different places of the world which we've never seen before, but it is introducing an element that you know as an established audience member. So you're like, where the fuck am I? What's going on? Oh, the Nazis are here. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Like,
Yeah.
we're back on track.
Nazis bad. We know this.
And then like we go through all of this, and then Indy finds his dad, and we see Henry Jones, played by Sean Connery. And then I put this film turns into the best part of Temple of Doom, which is a buddy cop duo. Like it becomes, they re-establish that there needs to be two like characters, one senior, one junior, for it to work. And like obviously Indiana Jones isn't the senior one here; he is the junior one. So he's made to be like a kid throughout the rest of this film, which like, I really enjoy.
Right. Yeah, he's laughing. He casts a little smile at him every now and again, and see Henry Jones Senior, Dr. Jones, does not
gives him the look when he's in the car.
All the time.
I fucking love that. Yeah. So it becomes like role reverse. He's now the short round, which why the fuck didn't they just use short round? Why didn't they just do it?
Yeah. Well, we've established already that it's a travesty the short round isn't back. But at least we get that dynamic though. We've basically got, just to do it full circle, we've got a Batman Robin dynamic, but we've got old Batman now. We've got an old Batman and a sort of young Batman. And you know, if you need a recipe for success, you don't need to look much further than fucking Batman. But yeah, those elements were great, and I think that it just sets up that dynamic straight away. And it allows us to have a few comedy moments as well.
Yeah. So we go back to killing as well. So Indy starts killing people again. And his dad is like appalled by this.
He is.
He's not happy about him killing people, which like, is that kind of a callback to like, this isn't okay? Like, and it's being acknowledged now, like by a senior figure of, you should not be killing people, no matter who they are.
Or is he the voice of reason to the kids watching, being like, killing is wrong, kids?
Yeah, so I've put the two Jones are morons. Like, together they're just like, they're a comedy duo, but like, they're almost...
Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah, the Laurel and Hardy, that's the way they go on with each other.
Yeah.
Like, the bit with the revolving door, fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, I love that, especially when the woman's like smiling and then she fucking calls for the alarm. Like, unbelievable. And then it's Scooby-Doo again because they're chasing through that fucking revolving door.
Yeah.
And the guy who does he punch Indy? He says, "This is how we say goodbye."
Yeah.
What a fucking dick. I've just wrote, what a dick.
I mean, he's Nazi dumb. It's quite established that he is in fact a huge dick.
Yeah. And like, Indy establishes in this scene, so we'll go on to Berlin in a minute. But he establishes that he's not in this for the treasure. Like, this is shown his character has, like, progressed. He's not actually here for the Grail at all. Like,
but he's chasing that affection from his dad, that love from his dad. Like, was a kind of underlying tone of this movie, I felt.
But it links in with Temple as well, because, like, he kind of looks to rescue them kids. He's not there in the end for the treasure. He's there because he's like, fuck, I've got to save some kids here. Like, it shows the type of person he is. I put the Nazi music's very Imperial March as well.
You know what it is? I've put Phantom Menace because so many.
I put Viceroy music.
Fucking right. Oh my god! Like, I know obviously this predates Phantom Menace by decades, but he must have just recycled some of those.
But you know what it is, right? How the fuck are we having this conversation when I had this conversation in the first film? You weren't buying it.
No, I was saying that you need to, you're blowing hot and cold. You can't love John Williams and then rag on him when he uses
I never said I love John Williams. I
you love
always
Star Wars, you love John Williams. Same.
I love Star Wars, yeah. I reckon Star Wars was his magnum opus and everything else is just a shadow of that.
Yeah. But again, because Phantom Menace has got a little soft spot in my heart because it was one of my my childhood movies. But there was so many little bits, like you say, that Viceroy sort of theme, where I was like, I just felt like I was watching a little clip of Star Wars. Like, if I was in the other room, I would have been like, holy shit, who's got Phantom Menace on?
Right, Berlin. So we go to Berlin. There's another country. Yeah, you're right.
So many countries.
And there's a book burning exercise going on.
Yeah.
You see Elsa. She's not happy about the books being burned. And then we see actual Hitler.
Yeah.
And he signs the diary.
He does.
So just to establish at this point, Henry has got a diary which has got clues to the Grail. Indy brings it to rescue Henry. The Nazis take it back off him. And then Indy finds Elsa at this rally, which is full of like how many people. He picks her out of the crowd. I guess she's like the only blonde hair, blue eyes in there, I guess.
But we'll get the whole as well, which you haven't even mentioned yet, which is a classic Indiana Jones trope, which is he steals it, he knocks out a guard and steals a uniform, and he dresses as a Nazi, which again is another classic Indiana Jones a technique.
Yeah. Dress up. So then obviously he takes the book and he gets pushed towards Hitler. Hitler signs it. Why was this here? Like this has got for me this is it is parody, but it's a bit blue. Like, do you not think it's like on the line because there's no funny bit here? It is just him writing in this book, and I guess the comedy is like, haha, like you're signing in this guy's book, and it's like fucking that book's gonna have to be burned now. Like it's weird.
No, it is very weird, but I think that there's plenty of like parody movies that like do take the piss out of Hitler, and it's kind of if you think of it from that perspective, it's like because I remember watching this as a kid and being like, "Fuck me, he could have just killed Hitler right there. He's killed people before. Whip out his whip, find the nearest ceiling fan, sorted. You've saved millions of people." But that's not the idea. The idea is how like stupid the Nazis are, essentially. Like Hitler had the Holy Grail book in his hand telling him how to get it, and he just signed it and gave it away. And he had Indiana Jones in his clutches and he let him escape. And I think that's the angle of it, like how stupid and bumbling idiots the Nazis are, essentially.
Yeah, which like even though the two Jones are morons, these are worse. Like they are stupid.
They're not lovable morons.
No. Right, so we'll rinse through like the blimp.
Yeah.
So they dress up again. They're both in dress up. Why is the luggage all left behind?
Good point.
Like
because they escape, so it's not like they.
But they didn't.
No.
They threw the Nazi out, and the guy just takes off. Like like indie boys aren't driving the fucking blimp.
No.
The luggage is there to save this man's fall.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe
that was the luggage of the people getting off, but we're guessing.
So then there's the heart-to-heart between the son and the father. I've sins of the father. They both have the same drink, so it's like a graphic match there.
I didn't pick up on that.
Henry's ignorant to the situation that's ongoing with his son. Like his son just wants attention, wants to like the love and approval of his father, and Henry's like, "Bruv, we're gonna get the Grail. Like, calm down."
Yeah.
And the goofy tone up is inconsistent because we're like, this point we've had like all that stuff in the castle. It was dead goofy. Then we had the bit in Berlin, which was quite serious. Like I found that quite like not intimidating, but like, oh fuck, like this really happened. Like think about that audience.
Yeah.
And then the bit on the blimp starts a bit like goofy ways, like no ticket, ha 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 ha. And then there's this whole like dramatic scene with the father and the son. I'm like, fuck, like where are we going with this? But I have put the film is confident. This is the most confident Indiana Jones has felt as a franchise.
It's established though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what you're getting.
It's because they knew what worked. They've got the market research from 2 films. They knew what worked. And like people probably think, oh, there's no elements of Temple in this. There is, 100%. Like I said, the two people on screen like works better than just Indiana's own.
And ironically, it's not with a female. It's with a sidekick, or he even becomes the male sidekick.
So then we've got... Did they get the book back? They must get the book back, do they? So this is the guy I didn't like, so Margus. Like, you see him at the start and you think, oh, he's just been the same character he was. And then he is a fucking moron for the entire rest of the film. I'm like, why are you here? Yeah. Why do we have to have these characters? Like, the film works on its own with the two Joneses being morons. Like, that comedy duo is enough comic relief. You did not need this guy who is constantly either pissed or fucking high as a kite, not knowing anything. And then they bring John Rhys Davies in, which I felt was unneeded as well.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I loved the comic relief element. I thought that was great.
I hated it.
It's only little snippets. It doesn't dominate the whole movie. Like, there's only little 2-minute scenes here and there. And it breaks it up a little bit for me. I thought it was good. And I really like when he's like, oh, he's an expert, he knows 20 languages, he's going to blend in, and then he's just fucking wandering around.
That was good.
That was great.
That was good. I'll not go too much into the action scene here because it's just the same as the first film. Like, it's safe. It's just a bit more high budget.
I've got a really bone to pick with this, a big bone to pick with this scene.
Go on then, what's your bone?
My bone to pick is when the big drama scene of the tank is Indiana Jones is hanging on the side of it and somehow trapped by a strap. And that tank was going like what, 2 mile an hour? 3 mile an hour. There's no drama in this scene. Indiana Jones could have hopped off that tank, walked around casually, and hopped back on the tank. There's no suspense for me at all in that bit of the scene. Fair enough, there is when it's going towards the end of the cliff, because there was no way you're stopping a tank rolling off a cliff. But when that tank was going so fucking slow, mate. Like I couldn't understand what the drama was supposed to be. And also, he's tied on somehow, and he can't work out how to get it out. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna accept the fact that he can't do that. But then the tank pulls away, and he just hops up. I'm like, well, why didn't you do that the whole fucking time, Indy? Come on now. Why are you an idiot? You don't need to be an idiot. It's a kids movie.
No,
you don't have to be an idiot.
I thought the same.
Yeah, I like this. Don't get us wrong. The overall, that whole escape scene, tank scene, I was a big fan. But that one bit of him hanging, I was like, this is just stupid. But yeah, I enjoy most
I
of it.
was a big fan, but I thought it went on for too long.
Yeah.
I thought it was a bit too long.
It didn't feel, like I said, the drama was taken away.
Act 3, Into the Tomb. Like, if this is not Steven Spielberg saying, look, the tombs are my strongest part, like, this is what I can do well, fucking, I don't know what else is, because, like, it just works. Like, this is, like, for me, pinnacle Indiana Jones. Like, what a way to end a film. So, Henry gets shot.
Yeah.
This is because... Why do you think he gets shot?
Well, I suppose plot-wise, it was just to motivate Indiana Jones. But otherwise, where's the drama? Where's the element of drama in this movie at the end? Like,
but why do they need to motivate him?
He's not there for the Holy Grail. He's there.
Yeah, so even at this point, end of the film, like, treasure in sight, he's not asked. And they've got to give him a reason to progress. And, like, I think for me, that's good character writing because, yeah, like, he probably wouldn't be asked because he just wants to, like, make sure his dad's all right. And then they give him a reason, like, you need to get it, like, oh, your dad's dead. And I think the believer in him comes out because it's very much a case of he puts his hands in the faith of this Holy Grail working.
You said it was good writing, but I really wasn't a fan of the whole Henry Jones Sr. narrating what Indiana Jones was doing.
Oh no, I never thought that was
like, that was just
name of God. And
then the other guy's like, Henry, shut up! You're fucking dying, pal. And he's like, oh. Like, it's like, what is going on? Because all of those Nazis sitting about are like, what's this guy doing? Like, and he's like, gasping.
What did you use to shoot this man?
Yeah,
like, he's frothing at the mouth and everything.
Are you ready to talk about the tasks, or?
You know what it is? I feel like you're going to rip these apart, and I love these tasks.
Right, so I've got 2 thoughts on these tasks.
Huh?
First thought is in regards to Indiana Jones and his overall story, which is the big question: is Indiana Jones a believer or not? Because he spends half the time saying it's not real, and half the time seeing shit or not seeing shit because he's closing his eyes. But you get the idea. He's experiencing mysticism. He's experiencing real life. He sees a guy's heart get pulled out his chest, man. Like, real shit happens, and Indiana Jones is still in some form of denial. And these tasks that he does, I'm going to cycle back to the first one, but all these tasks have that element of like, oh, this is how they did it, and this is how they convinced, an ancient people, an ancient civilization of God. And I'm fine with that. I'm like, you can explain away miracles in the Bible by, logic and science that we understand now. And I'm totally okay with that. But the other element, which we talked about earlier, which is, why does Indiana Jones have to be fucking fake, is it does not, and this is what I've wrote down almost word for word, it does not take a fucking genius to see a bunch of headless people in a corridor and think, I should probably be ducking at some point here, because there's no way in hell I'd see multiple guys walk through a corridor and then all of the heads get chopped off and nothing. Right, I'm going to probably duck a little bit lower because something's going to come to chop my head off. It didn't need a whole fucking story and a Bible verse to get past that. I could have worked that out myself.
There's two blades though, yeah? There's one that comes up and there's one that comes across. So,
yes.
And he does like a roly-poly kneel, which like, I would have just knelt down and been cutting off.
Yeah. Same.
There's no way I'm doing a dive roll. Like, and he does it with some finesse as well. Like, I think it's a really good rule. But no, you're right. Like,
penitent man kneels before God.
why didn't they just have someone?
Rolls.
Why didn't they just have like two people like with like one staying a bit further back so you could see the other guy? Because there was no turning it. It wasn't like it was just a straight corridor. Have someone watch and go, guys. There's a couple of blades. Like, be careful.
Duck and roll, boys.
Duck and roll. But also, how did the blades know someone was there?
Exactly. Yeah.
So the pathway. The invisible pathway?
Yeah. I remember watching it back in the day and thinking, that's clever. I like that.
I've wrote literal leap of faith.
Yeah.
And it is him, like, gratifying us saying, I fucking believe. Like, there's no way you come away from this film and say he doesn't believe.
But at the same time, right? Again, just to bring us back a second, there's no way to fail that task. Because that path's there. You can't fail.
Yeah, but
you could not believe and still do it. You could crawl. You could step very slowly and carefully, and you could still do it. And
it's the faith. That's the third one. I've skipped the second one, but that's the third one. Like, you look at that, right, and you look at it square on because there's no other angle you can choose. You can't shimmy around and like check the other sides, and like. Are you going to put your hand out? Probably not. Like, you probably look at that and think, there's no fucking way. Even he says, this is impossible.
Yeah.
So, I get it.
He closes his eyes. He puts his
I get it, but all it takes is one person to fucking, like, spill something. And be like, oh, guys, there's an actual path here.
Yeah. Of all of them, that was the one, even though it's the most, like, visually like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. It's also the least impressive because, like I said, you can't fail that task. Like,
and the second one it's Jehovah, right? That's what they're spelling out.
Yeah, but
it starts with a silent Z or something.
Starts with an I.
Starts with a silent I. Yeah.
Somehow Henry Ford Senior knew that's where we were up to.
And what keeps them platforms up?
Yeah.
And also, do those platforms get reset?
I know. Yeah, well, look, obviously the knights who fucking went back, they were like,
oh, for God's sakes, who's fucking put the J out again?
They were hoping for someone to come along and fuck it so they could rebuild because they were bored as fuck sitting there for hundreds of years.
I have wrote down, I enjoy these puzzles because I think any kid watching these now, I think there's still something to get out of this. I think if you showed this to a really young kid, like a 6-year-old, they'd be like, this is a mid-film.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's definitely like there's points here to be made. I think all these practical, apart from the blades, I was a big fan. Still. So we saved the real magic for the end of the film. I believe there's no evidence to support that Jesus was ever a carpenter. Like, obviously he was a real man, but if he did miracles, it's a different story. But I don't think there was ever any evidence to support he was a carpenter, so this plays on that like quite heavily. Like, he could have still chose wrong.
I remembered the cup being a lot shitter than it actually was.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
I think that cup
looked alright.
I think the cup's been replaced.
Yeah, for me, I thought the cup was like a proper, like, looked like it was in a caveman cave.
Yeah.
But I suppose it is compared to all the other fucking chalices that were there. But the cup seemed a lot better than I was expecting on my rewatch.
Yeah. So the guy dying, he drinks the cup and he chose poorly. We go back to a bit of stop motion, I think. I think it was stop motion in this.
Yeah, we do. We get that animatronic type creature.
Which,
rapidly.
it's Raiders again, but done better.
See, I didn't like it as much as Raiders.
Did you not?
There was something about it. Again, I'm always going to be a big fan of practical effects, so top marks for that from me. And then he turned to dust. as well. Absolute dust at the end of it.
And she freaks out. Like, I guess she would, but like she really goes
Yeah.
to town on that scream. Like she loved her scene. I was all for it. So we're definitely got to be a believer now, right? Because he takes it back, and the guy's like, "Look, don't take it past the seal. Whatever you do, like." And straight away, I was like, "What fucking seal? Like, do we all know what seal he's talking about? He could have been talking about the door where he just was." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Fair pal, like, Indy knows what he's doing." So he pulls it on Henry. Henry gets healed.
Bit more practical effects there as well.
Yeah, really good effects. There's no way Indy's not a believer at this point.
Yeah.
So
No, that's true.
I don't know what happens in the fourth film, but if we regress, I am going to be woefully pissed off. Like,
Okay.
woefully pissed off. So the woman comes and takes the container.
Container.
She takes it away from them, and she's like, "We've got it, boys. We've made it. We've won. All she needs to do is run out. If she ran out, that would have been sound.
She would have made it.
But no, she's like, nah, I'm gonna stumble out." And then I've
Did you
wrote,
see her kick the cup as well into the fucking hole?
yeah, I did. Yeah,
Pissed me off
right
to
off.
no end.
I've put, why are liquid containers so slippy in this franchise? Because that thing bounces like it's made out of fucking
Yeah.
marble or something. Goes nuts. So it falls on the hole. She tries to grab it.
She does.
And he's like, "Look, let it go, love. Like, it's not worth it, whatever." 2 seconds later, after she's died, he does the exact same thing. And this really winds me up. And I get it, because they show that he's actually able to let it go. And even Henry's like, "Look, son, let it fucking go. It's not worth it." And he's like, "Yeah, fair enough, Dad. I've come round to the idea." But like,
Oh, I'm gonna. Whoa! I've got so many notes for you, my friend.
after he like already told her, like, "Don't, it's not worth it," then he does the exact same thing. I'm like, what's going on here?
I think you've got to have a bit of, when we're talking about the mysticism of this, and it's sort of the desire of it. It's almost as if it's like kind of cursed in a way. So she's a victim of the curse. So she's wanting it. She can't see beyond it, and that's when she falls victim to it. And then Indiana Jones is hanging there, and he's fell victim in that moment to that same curse. I think that was my interpretation of it. It wasn't just as simple as, "Oh, he's fucking just seen what's happened and he's gonna do it again, idiot." Like I thought there was an element of of magic there, like the curse of it, like the longing for the Grail type of thing
Yeah.
that everybody else has already fell to, and then Indiana Jones in his weakest moment has also fell to it. But you've really, as well, really undersold the father-son moment there, because he calls him Indiana for the first time in the movie.
Yeah.
And then it's that word Indiana that brings him out. It isn't anything else. It isn't the son. It isn't telling him to bring it back. It's him saying, "Indiana, let it go." And then saying Indiana, because he keeps calling him Junior, and he fucking hates
Yeah,
being
because he
called
says, "Don't
Junior
call me
throughout the
Junior."
movie.
You know, I hate
Don't
that.
call me Junior.
Fucking hell,
And
what a
it's when he
catch!
calls,
No, I did not pick
yeah,
up on that.
really heart wrenching moment for me, because I'm like, oh my god, like
Yeah,
that's so
so he
powerful.
finally sees his son, and that's the gratification he's wanted more than any treasure. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
there you
What a
go.
what a perfect way to sum that up. Well done.
Because that was really powerful. Really enjoyed that a little
Was
bit.
we found out where his name comes from? Which, fucking, who cares? So we turn on horses, and we literally ride off into the sunset. This made me quite sad because this is wrapped. This is done. You don't need to do anything else after this. You get your characters like having their heroes ending.
Yeah,
It is
well, what's the name of the movie?
the Last
The
Crusade.
Last
Like,
Crusade. Yeah, like it feels like exactly you said. This could have been it. This could have been the end, and we could have all been satisfied. And also, if you love these characters that much that you don't like, you want to be invested in them, and you want to see more, you kind of can make your own stories up in your mind, because to me, like when I watched this movie as a kid, I was like, "Oh, they're sorted. Indiana Jones is fucking immortal now. He's drank from the Holy Grail. Everything's cushy."
yeah.
So like, yeah, like the really not to kind of predict that we shouldn't see any more movies and they're all going to be crap, but why not? Why not say like, yeah, this is our last crusade. This is the end. This is, like it's over. I hope you enjoyed the ride, like, and literally riding off into the sunset. I 100% agree with what you're saying.
Right. Anyway, have you got any final thoughts on The Last Crusade?
Um, No, I think we can go into ranking it. I think the overall message that I kind of want to take away from the Last Crusade is that I really enjoy it. However, no way does this work as a standalone movie. This has to be the third and potentially probably best as the final of the franchise. But it works so well because we've got so much of Indiana Jones already at this point. I don't think this movie would work, and I definitely don't think it would work as its own movie. But as part of a canon, part of the trilogy, I think it's amazing. I love it. I loved it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like it's like all good trilogies, or isn't it? Like Back to the Future 3 doesn't, and it might be Spielberg because Back to the Future 3 does not work if you've not seen the first and second one.
Like there's so many tropes in it that just work better because you know Indiana Jones.
You've got that established lore.
Yeah.
You've got established canon.
And canon is the word of the day. I think we know that's why we're all here.
This film is all about its canon. Like this film takes its canon and I think cements it harder than anything else because I think in the second film they had an identity crisis with this franchise. They didn't know what it was, and they tried to establish it in the second one. It didn't take. The audience rejected it. So then they were like, "What worked? Right, establish that as the canon. This is who Indiana Jones is."
We always like to talk about Wilhelm Screams. I only picked up on one.
I did as well. Yeah, I did as well.
I got it at about 1 hour 26-ish minutes into the movie. I can't remember what bit that was.
You've fucked this already.
You better say when it was.
You're supposed to ask us when I think it is, and I would give you a time. I was gonna say 1:20.
Okay, well there you go. We did it.
Yeah, you fucked it. We'll get it next time, so that's fine. So what are you giving it?
Well, because it has to be part of the franchise, and it simply can't work on its own. And honestly, when we think about Indiana Jones, to me, there's no reason why an Indiana Jones movie can't just be on its own because it's Indiana Jones. It's an archaeologist on an adventure. I don't need all these throwbacks and stuff. I just need a great new adventure with Indiana Jones. I can get behind that. So I have to rank it as a B. I don't think I can give it an A rating as the same as I can with Raiders.
Okay. I did have this as an A, but from what you said, I 100% agree with you. Like you've not twisted my arm, but you've convinced us that I'm wrong. So I'm more than happy with a B. You'll see on screen now that we have got a tier ranking list, and we'll have all of these films on here for you to see. If you're not watching the video, head on over to YouTube and watch the video. Cool. You want to talk about next week or next time?
So we're going to go into the fourth installment of the Indiana Jones franchise. Until recently, Tom, we would have said that is the fourth and final installment of the series, but there has been a fifth one as well. So fourth movie is Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Have you got any brief predictions for us for this movie, Tom?
Not really. I've seen it. I know that there is a reveal at the end. I know there's a fridge. And I know Shia LaBeouf's in it, and I think Marion might be back. And that's all I briefly remember.
And what are your predictions for yourself? I think
I'm gonna hit it. No, I think because this film, like we've just done, ends on such a ending. Like it's gonna be sour all the way through. But I am open to interpretation, and you know, I know you said last time going with parody in your head, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to kind of really think who the film was for, because this film came out, must be 10 years later than the other one? More so, like, if at a minimum 10 years. So all the kids the original one was for have grown up. Is it for them? I don't know. I'm interested.
I think maybe this is, maybe it's an attempt to get probably a failed attempt, but an attempt to get a new sort of generation in Indiana Jones. But we'll go into that as we'll go through it. But yeah, like it'll be interesting. I do think it's difficult to see where it goes when we just talked about how much the Last Crusade felt like a final closing piece to a otherwise good little trilogy. But yes, open-minded, we're willing to see, and obviously some of the viewers, some of the listeners, some of the subscribers, and if you're not subscribed, get that like and subscribe button ticked. Might think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is the absolute favourite. There might be the Phantom Menace generation of Star Wars that we were growing up as well, and they'll love it better than all the other ones. But we'll see. We'll go through it. So if you liked what you heard in this episode and you'd like to hear more of the ramblings of two lifelong close friends, Tom, or best friends as some would say, you can find more of our episodes on YouTube. Just search for us with the handle at Canon Fodder Podcast. If you prefer your videos in bite-sized chunks and you want to see some TikTok goodness, you can also find us on TikTok with the exact same handle. And if you like to dip your tootsies in the Reddit field, you can also find us on there. Just search for the Canon Fodder Podcast. And if there's anything you want to send us over email, feel free to do so as well. You can reach us with the email thecanonfodderp, that's the letter P, @gmail.com. Please engage with us. Please kind of reach out to us.
Please.
We're looking to grow the community, and we're looking to get some like-minded people involved as well. So drop us comments, drop us any content you'd like to see as well, and we'll hope to hear from you all soon.
Yeah. Take care, everyone. Enjoy.
Bye.